you're here tonight, you probably believe that design is generally a good thing, and I don't need to convince you that we can use design to bring positive impact in our shared lives. I also bet you love this before and after views. I love it too. How design can bring and transform our built environment, in this case through a riverfront park in Newark, New Jersey. Riverfront development has been a transformative strategy for our cities, from the industrial to recreation. But those transformations have also been tools for gentrification, perpetuating segregation of our people. This is a story of a bunch of people who wanted to do that riverfront thing differently, and how design was just a part of that work. For me, as a designer, it's always been important to pay close attention to the institutional context of my work, rather than adopting the notion that design as a goodie to bring to the public. I try to see myself as a stranger in a big cocktail party, just trying to figure out how to talk to people like they're people. So I am a part of a studio partnership called Hector Urban Design, Planning, and Civic Arts. Our past independent careers and current projects let us work within and in between government agencies, community organizations, business, property owners, and more. For the Newark Riverfront Park, my partner and I played all kinds of roles. I will unpack this story through 3 things we did as designers, participating in what happens in between the before and the after. First, we helped organize, starting conversations. We were inspired by a community organization called Ironbound Community Corporation that proposed a really different approach to development. Instead of making one big gigantic plan, we made a bunch of smaller plans and programs to see what got traction. For example, we knew hanging out with a bunch of teenagers was a good idea, especially you're new in town and had no clue. We made investigative maps and conducted interviews together. And eventually, we made a proposal of the riverfront in the year 3000. And the mayor came to our exhibition at the city hall and cut the ribbon, and that was all very cool. But also, building the park where it is in the city, we knew that we had to deal with the segregation in our city, which of course is not a condition that's unique to Newark. So we reached out to neighborhoods that did not edge the river and try to convince people that it's a pretty cool and fun thing to come out to the river once in a while, even if it had been out of their map before. So we had workshops and peeling the layers of this place, and we offered boat tours. There you looked and listened about the river's history and its current state, but you also got to talk to your neighbors about what this place could become. Secondly, we helped make new rules that govern riverfront development. We designed a set of workbooks explaining different zoning scenarios. This tool was used by community organizations building coalition for a new plan requiring public waterfront access. And judging from the nerdiness of this crowd, and I'm sure I can talk zoning all night, but I won't do that to ourselves. But the point that I want to make is that designers have an important role making policy public. Finally, we help design with roots in organized communities. After boat tours and various events, we now had a lot of people joining our meetings with pretty specific ideas as to what the city's very first riverfront park should look like. Most importantly, they said, we've fought for this thing for 20 years. I don't just want a nice park. It needs to reflect our story. So the priority was to design a park that reflects the spirit of the movements that brought it to life. A big part of that work was to literally bring those stories to the surface. For example, stories about what happened to our environment. As you approach the river's edge, you see these railings inscribed with stories like, what is that big pipe sticking out to the river? Oh, I better answer by reading about combined sewer overflow problem in our city. Or about the industrial archaeology of the river, the crab that says, "Oh, do not eat me, I am poisonous." So the river's edge becomes a place where these stories are transmitted and reactivated. Or the signage narrating fights to save the neighborhood park in the following decades of riverfront access advocacy. And this is what allowed us to connect our design to the rich soil of civic life in the city. But all the design that went into the physical stuff at the park is secondary to the importance of programming in the park. So we help produce Walk to the River, a march that happens every time a new portion of the park opens, led by Malcolm X Shabazz High School Band, the baddest in town. And people who do cool things in the city now come to this place at least once a year to share what they do. Whether they be dance crews or play different kinds of music, gospel, jazz, or my favorite, house music night on the boardwalk with DJ Omar Abdallah. So I will end this story here, that it's a pretty good thing that now we have this awesome place with all kinds of people in the city. As designers, we're lucky to be part of a collective work that bring change to our built environment. At this party, we learn how to talk to different people like they're people, including policymakers, community organizers, designers, and planners, but most importantly, the very people who can help us build a multi-layer symbolic system for the spirit that brought us to that city, that place in the first place.